Let's do it.
Woo!
Got my groove back. Synchronized drinking, apparently. That's a redneck sport. You can't tell me different.
Howdy, I'm George.
And I'm Mike.
We're here to talk to you about video games today. Mike, what are you playing, reading, watching, listening to?
I spent the better part of my night screaming at my computer trying to get the Legacy of Kain games on Steam to work. Didn't get it, but then I went over to Warframe and killed some things. As for reading, my best friend just finished a romance novel, and I'm having to read it. So, but can't complain too much. And as for watching, I just picked up Daredevil series from Netflix, season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, and I'm rewatching all of those with my dad.
Nice. Yeah, I got to start season 3 up. I'm watching season 2 of Iron Fist right now, and I'm pretty bummed they canceled it, but I think Netflix canceled it because it's high budget, and they're just going to let Marvel pick it up on their streaming service. I'm also watching season 3 of The Man in the High Castle. It's okay.
Yeah, I watched some of that. I didn't like it.
It's too slow, and this coming from someone that likes Downton Abbey, so it's not. I'm not like I need an action-packed show. It's just I'm just not into the story. Right now I'm still playing Starlink. I'm playing Black Ops 4, playing Tire's Mud Runner edition, and just picked up Diablo 3 Eternal edition a little while ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I got a lot of pots on the stove there. Need to get some of them off the burner. So, anyways, our main topic tonight is microtransactions. How do you feel about microtransactions, Mike?
I don't mind them if they're done correctly, especially when it's just fashion accessories, stuff that doesn't impact the game too much. I've noticed a lot of companies that just run them into the ground. WildStar was a big proponent of that problem. What was the other ones that have done that? I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's so many games that they make you pay and pay and pay and pay. Rainbow Six Siege was like that for a little while, till they kind of got it under control. They redid their whole math formula for how many credits you get per match. It's a little easier now.
Yeah, but those were earned. They weren't paid for with money, correct? Okay.
Yeah, I mean you can grind all of the operators and stuff and really work your way through it, but if you want to buy the season pass, that's something completely different off the record, Warframe, I still will to this day sing of their business model. Yep. I know a lot of people complain about Saren and Mesa and a couple of the other ones, but those frames are so powerful. I mean, you can literally wipe maps with these frames. So they need to be difficult to be obtained, and if you want to be lazy and you want to pay for it, fine, go for it. But there's you can still own your own way of doing that game without having to shell out $30, $40, $50 every week or so for platinum. It's easy to get platinum without having to do anything.
Yep, I agree. Personally, the only time I really have problems with microtransactions are when they're predatory towards kids.
Fortnite.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. And also when there's loot boxes and the odds of getting items aren't posted. Anyways,
that is a big pet peeve.
So the first microtransactions really were downloadable content, Call of Duty maps, things like that. And it was a way for developers to continue to make money off of a game because around that time, 2008, 2009, you had, it was most games, especially like a first-person shooter like Call of Duty, you'd have the initial purchase of the game, and then that was it. And if someone bought the game used, then the developer wasn't getting anything. So they started adding map packs for I think it was a third of the price is what they used to be.
Right.
That way, they'd at least, for the people that bought used games, they'd have a chance to make some money off of them. Some other games like Marvel vs. Capcom, you can buy fighters. These add-ons were not required to play the game. They were just, all right, you like the game, here's some more of it, you just got to pay for it. Which, I didn't mind that. I bought my fair share of map packs. I'm pretty sure I bought some and never really played them. Battlefield 1, that was 2 years ago.
Yep.
I bought the complete edition and never played one of the single maps. So I'm okay with that model. It's transitioned though from a model like that for these developers to different options like your cosmetic items, like you were talking about Overwatch and Fortnite. Yeah. And while the Fortnite may be predatory to kids, it is all completely optional. It's not pay to win. I do think though that because that game is free to play and you do have such a high kid player base, it does seem a little bit predatory that they're charging for stuff to make you dance differently, or different gliders. I think they have. I don't.
Yeah, gliders, gun skins, stuff like that, like character skins, wings. I'll tell you the one that really pissed me off. I was a huge fan of the series back in the day, Killer Instinct. Did you ever play that new one?
On the Xbox, I have it. I haven't played it though, but I do know there's only a handful of characters, and you have to buy the rest.
Well, when it first launched, and this is what made me mad and why I didn't buy it for a long time, was each character had to be individually purchased. You had to buy the base game for $70, and then each character was another $5 a piece. And with a roster of 20-something characters, 5 times 20, you're talking $120 something probably, 120, 115 bucks for all the roster. And they pulled it off the store from all the negative feedback they were getting and included most of the roster in the payment and then made certain premium skins money.
Okay.
And I was just like, man, that they saved their butts, but it ruined the base because nobody plays it anymore.
Yeah, I downloaded it. It was free on Xbox 1 month, and I think it came with like 6 characters or something like that. Which, if I ever play it, that's more than I'll ever. I mean, I've had the game a couple of years now and haven't even thought about playing it, so it tells you how interested I am. Now, have you played Overwatch?
I have. I own Overwatch. I like it. It's fun,
so do I.
But I prefer Paladins more.
Okay. Does Paladins have a system where you can unlock skins?
Oh yeah. Basically, the way Paladins does it is they sit there and they let you rack up all the gold and everything and the points that you can have, and you get to like level up certain costumes, or you can buy certain costumes with that stuff. There's very few of the costumes now that are premium, like you have to pay for. What they do make you pay for, though, like if you buy the whole game, you can unlock all the characters at once, and it comes with, I think it's like a skin a piece or something. It's only like $30. I paid $30 for it. I haven't played it lately, but it's definitely, to me, it's a lot more polished than Overwatch and a lot more competitive because it's not so fluid. Like, how every character kind of controls the same most of the time. Overwatch is like that. Paladins is nowhere near that because every character has a unique feel to it.
Gotcha. I was talking more in regards to like the microtransaction, because with an Overwatch,
right? I got sidetracked. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. You could, in Overwatch, you unlock loot boxes. You can buy the loot boxes too, and they give you different spray paints, gestures, phrases. And honestly, those ones I'm completely fine with, especially where you just by playing the game you unlock one periodically. If they don't want to tell me the odds on those, fine. I mean, it's free. I've unlocked a few on Overwatch. I haven't played in since the Olympics.
Right.
Whenever that was, the Summer Olympics was a year and a half ago now.
Something like that, yeah.
Um. So yeah, those ones are fine. You know, I would have never, even if I was playing to this day, I wouldn't have bought any of those because I don't really care about the skins enough.
Same here.
And the odds are, so low you can't guarantee what you want. Now another model of the microtransactions that can kind of be seen as pay to win, but I'm okay with is games like Star Trek Online. Have you played Star Trek Online?
I'm not happy with their model. It definitely it can be very predatory if you don't know what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I agree, and I've spent way too much money in that game. What I like though is if you want to buy the Tier 6 Defiant, you know what you're getting with it. You're guaranteed to get it. You buy the ship. They do have periodic sales, and if you play it right, and if you play the Zen market right, you can get them all for free. Because you can trade dilithium for Zen.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Just like you would in Warframe. The exchange rate on PC, I guess, is out of control, and to the point where it's not even worth it. But on the consoles, like especially around Phoenix Prize event weekends, it's really reasonable. And I know people that have bought the lifetime subscription just off farming dilithium for a month and just hoarding it until the next Phoenix event.
Good grief!
When the exchange rate is more favorable to those looking to buy the Zen for their dilithium. But I like the idea of, okay, I want to buy this ship because it has this star trade, it has this console. This is what I need to complete my build. What I don't like about Star Trek Online is their loot box system. They every 3 to 4 months they come out with a new loot box, and they then shortly thereafter return the old ones. You'll still have them in circulation where players have them in their inventory. They can sell them on the player exchange. Now that's all for in-game credit. Like that doesn't cost any money. So I'm okay with that aspect of having the loot boxes. If you want to buy the Tal Shiar or the Dominion lock boxes that are older, you just gotta play the game to earn the energy credits to buy them. That's fine. What I don't like is the odds of getting the starships from the lock boxes because they are abysmal and they don't tell you what they are. I think the unofficial number I heard was like you should get one ship for every 200 boxes.
Holy Jesus.
Yeah. And the issue with the boxes that is keys cost, I want to say 125 Zen per key, but you can't buy them in units of 125. You have to buy 500 Zen. So that gives you enough for, 4 keys?
What?
I forget the exact numbers, but you end up having leftover Zen, no matter how you work it out. And that's what I don't like, is you can't just say, I want to buy this, I want to buy 4 keys. And they don't have it set out where it calculates what you would pay for that. You have to buy more, or you have to buy it in strange quantities where you need. All right, I need 500, and I need another 1,000, and
I'd be pissed.
I don't like that aspect of it. But with the purchasing the ships, I'm completely okay with that. Especially now with the latest expansion, any Romulan character can use. You have to, as a Romulan, either align with the Federation or the Klingon Empire, and you can use any ship that you unlocked. So if my Romulan is a Federline character, any Federation ship I bought, I can then use on the Romulan.
So that, 30 Romulans.
It opens up a lot more options, and the Dominion's the same way. So I'm okay with buying the ships or buying any of the cosmetic stuff. It's their loot box system that I don't like.
What about EVE Online and their like $1 million ships?
Never played it. I've heard about it, and I've heard it's unique and interesting game. And
it's pretty bad.
You want to expound on it some?
Well, I've only played enough to get to help the guild that I was in at the time, but basically what ends up happening is like most of the guilds on that game now will sit there and be like, all right, if everybody pitches in $45. We can get this ship and take out this guild and destroy their assets. And you're talking like real world cash at that point per ship. because the in-game credit system is so broken. They literally, like, the exchange rate is like, a trillion credits for a couple dozen, premium cash. It's the system's destroyed over there. I had a friend of mine that was in the top guild in the world, and she ended up. They asked her at that point. They were like, "Okay, to be in this guild, you have to give us $200 and something to pay for the ship that we're going for." And she was like, "Not happening." She uninstalled the game and just left at that point.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that does sound a bit absurd. A recent pay to win that a lot of people are complaining about is an Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Have you heard about this one?
No, I haven't. I've seen Spartan on our streamer of the month, Spartan, play it on his stream.
Spartan Armory on Twitch, all one word. So a lot of people are complaining about there's an XP booster you can buy that doubles the XP and the gold you get.
Really?
And I don't know why people are complaining, because it's like, as far as I understand it, a completely single player game. So if you want to do that so you can level up and you can power through the game quicker, just because you don't have the time to play and grind the levels normally, I'm okay with that. I get it. I mean, I don't have time to play games, so if I could do that with any game, I'd at least run the idea through my head.
Right, it's single player though. It's not like you're going online with these characters and like overpowering everybody pay to win.
Exactly.
Most of the time you're just dangling off Zeus's donger anyway.
So yeah, that one I've heard a lot of people complain about it, and I think I found it. It's just people looking to complain, I think, in that case. What other pay to win models are there?
Oh, so many, man. Well, I know WildStar, before it closed forever this last week, or is closing forever. I know that before they made everything available, the payment model on that was pretty gougeable. It hit your wallet pretty bad. You had to pay for access to your storage tabs. You had to pay for access to your character list. You had to pay for access to sneeze in the game. Emotes were through the roof. The dances, of course, like Fortnite, were through the roof. It was insane.
Yeah, on Star Trek Online, I think they give you 5 character slots to begin with, which I don't know if you've ever tried to run 5 characters at MMO at a time. 5 is too many as it is. So,
especially for Star Trek, that's a pretty immersive game. Like, you actually have to really spend time on it.
Yeah. So I did buy a couple extra for various reasons. They had a Delta Recruit event. But what I ended up doing is when I was buying keys and I'd have that leftover Zen, the shavings, I saved those up, and that's how I got my character slots.
Very nice.
So, but yeah, I don't like it when they say, well, you've got 20 item slots, but if you spend $2, we'll give you 60 more. And you're like, well, I need 3 more. I don't need 60 more. Can I spend 8 cents and 3 more? I just wish that some of these transactions were more
fair,
not in bulk. But anyways.
So what about stuff like Skylanders, though? That's.
We got another one, which a lot of people consider this to be a microtransaction. These amiibo, but in a lot of ways they are.
Lord.
I think Nintendo does it right, where. Well, they do it right and they do it wrong. The way they do it wrong is, just like everything else, they create a demand by having such a limited supply. But where they do it right, the Wii, the DS, the 3DS, the Switch,
or that what was that amiibo that they had, the Woolly Yoshi or the Wool Yoshi? That thing's like a $300 amiibo.
Yeah. But Nintendo doing that, that's not the point. What they do about it though is, like this Ocarina of Time Link here, it'll unlock on Mario Kart. It'll unlock the Link suit. On Breath of the Wild, excuse me, it'll give you a treasure chest that gives you one of like 20 random items, and that you can use it every day.
Interesting. Okay, so it's like for multiple games too.
Yes, and some of them like even work for Mega Man, so non-Nintendo games, but that are on the Switch.
Wow.
So they really do it well, and they work with the developers. Like, hey, you want to put some Amiibo support on here? And it's not all Amiibo. Your Mario's, your Zeldas, they work in most games. I'm willing to bet that the Diablo 3 Eternal Edition, when that comes out for Switch, Ganondorf armor, I haven't confirmed it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be unlocked by this guy.
Oh, that's hot.
So I wouldn't be surprised. So these little figures, the MSRP is $15 US on most of them. That's not bad. You can find some before the Switch came out. I tell you what, there were some of the more common ones I got on Amazon for like $2 or $3 brand new. And then they just shot up as soon as the Switch came out, and they said, "Oh yeah, by the way, the Joy-Con controllers are going to have the NFC chip or the NFC reader in them, so you can just scan the Amiibo right on the controller.
Oh,
you don't have to have an additional item. You just put it over the right thumbstick." So the price started to go up on them, and some of them, like I have all the Link ones. I'm a big fan of Zelda. The Majora's Mask one.
I never would have guessed.
If you didn't pre-order it from Best Buy, you weren't going to get one most likely, unless you went on the secondhand market, and they were going for $50 for a while.
Damn.
Which that's a huge markup. So I don't like that Nintendo creates this demand but doesn't produce supply to meet it. But I like the way they do it with their games. Do you want to talk about Skylanders some? I'm not too familiar with it.
Actually, I can talk about Skylanders. One of my friend's sons literally has 4 suitcases designated to Skylanders. These things are expensive. They're hard to track down sometimes. And there are certain things in the game that you can't access unless you have a very specific Skylander. That to me is dirty. That to me is absolutely dirty, and I hate that they do that, especially when you're talking like, 4 suitcases, 3 or 4 suitcases worth of these things take up a good chunk of your room. You're talking space and availability, and then of course I'm going to say 2 or 3 years max. Those things are going to be obsolete as hell. Mm-hmm. It's going to go to digital. You're going to pay for it, and then it's going to be like an automatic renewal thing, like everything else. And you're going to have all these stupid Skylanders sitting in your room, and you're going to go, wow, I was an idiot.
Yeah.
And not to mention, the game itself is fairly open-ended and short. There's no real... there's a story to it, obviously. You get to play through the story with your favorite Skylander. But then they started unlocking... certain Skylanders would unlock certain parts in the story. And then it got more dirty, because then you couldn't access certain storylines. And it got worse and worse and worse. And now parents all over the world are complaining that, their kids, the chip in them doesn't work like it's supposed to. They're breaking. They're made cheaply. It gets down to the point where you're like, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, Starlink is kind of like that. We talked about that a little bit last week.
Right.
So I've ended up, while I'm playing, I'm going digital now because I bought a weapon pack digitally, and the starter pack of the Switch came with a digital weapon and a digital ship. So the only way I could use them was if I went without using the toys, even though I bought 3 ships. So a little frustrated with that. But what frustrates me now is that since I synced all those ships up and weapons up on Tuesday of last week, it's now past the 7 days, I have to resync everything to use the digital version again.
That's stupid.
It's how they're preventing piracy, and I get it. That makes sense. I get that, but I wish they would have been a little forthcoming and with the Nintendo Switch Star Pack, either gone all physical or all digital. Not both. So it's, microtransactions, especially when it's an adult doing them. Okay, if you have an addictive personality and you're gonna keep buying these things, that's on you. You're an adult. I'm the idiot that bought 3 extra ships and a couple extra weapon packs. Whose fault is that? Mine. I wish sometimes that some of these developers would be a little more forthcoming with how things are going to work and their intentions.
Especially their loot drop tables and their business models would
Yes.
be very nice to have.
Yes.
And you were talking about addiction, and that's my realm of expertise from all my psychology that I've done in college. You're talking about they're literally hooking kids into a gambling system now to make them more likely to gamble later down the road. Nintendo, if you don't know, owns a gambling casino in Japan for pachinko.
Yep.
So
Konami makes a lot of pachinko games.
Yeah, Konami makes a ton of pachinko games, and they even make them under different companies to try and break up the monopoly. So you can't tell me, especially in Japan, that these companies aren't programming these people and these kids to spend more and more money as time goes on to maybe get something and gamble. It seems like a very dishonest business practice in my opinion. But what do I know?
Yeah,
What is it, the Italian? What do I know?
Yeah, I agree. What's interesting about the Konami too is, and I think Capcom as well, they'll use like Street Fighter characters on their pachinko machines because these people grew up playing Street Fighter in the Super Famicom, and now they're going to these pachinko machines to gamble. And there's Ryu, there's Ken, there's E Honda.
Yep, Resident Evil, Parasite Eve, they got them all.
Metal Gear Solid, yeah. It's interesting, but one thing that Nintendo's doing, back to the Amiibo, is with Smash Brothers coming out and it being like all their characters. That was one of their biggest Amiibo lines. They're actually going to re-release the Amiibo, I guess. So
really,
yeah. I this one here, this Samus, we used to be like near impossible to find. I was stop a week or two ago. It was last Tuesday when Starlink came out, and they had gotten 2 in, and I said, "Yeah, I'll take one."
Heck yeah.
So, anyways, let's move on to our next topic. The next 6 games that are top 30 horror games. Mike, you want to take the first one, The Rule of the Rose?
I do. I don't own it personally, but I know a lot about it because my girl Amanda wanted it so bad when it came out and we didn't have the money. Rule of Rose is a very unique game in the fact that there's no weapons. It's a surviving game. It's you have to find places to hide. You have to use the environment to survive, and it builds and builds and builds. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna go ahead and keep going while I think somebody's at his door.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
you're good, man.
I'm upstairs, and my dog, he's nearly blind, and he was going to go down the stairs, so I had to turn the light on for him so he could see.
Poor puppy. So anyway, it's one of those games where survival is more important than it is fighting or anything else, and you have to unlock the story as it goes when not dying. If you do it within a certain time frame, there are certain parts of the story you get to see that you normally wouldn't. There's a lot of extra content that's there. The game itself is anywhere from $400 United States dollars to $900, depending on the condition of the game and the case. It's very rare. It's very hard to get a hold of. But if you happen to have a copy and you don't want it, call me. I'll try and give you a fair price for it because I want it, man. What's next? We got Eternal Darkness. You want to do that one, or do you not play it?
I do, and I got some news about Eternal Darkness. Have you ever played it?
Yes, I have. I have it on I have the old one on a PC emulator. Yeah, I have it on an emulator.
Yeah, it's for those of you that haven't played Eternal Darkness, it takes place primarily in a mansion. It's been a hot minute since I played it, and you have an insanity meter, and the more disturbing stuff you see, the more messed up things get. And what that means is when you go from one room to the next, the controls may be inverted and you're walking on the ceiling.
Ooh.
Or you'll walk around and the phone starts ringing, you pick it up, dial tone. Or there's nothing there. It's a dead line. You may the floor may start moving. It just weird things pop out at you, and you can forget how you did it, but you could decrease the insanity meter so things would return back to normal. Sometimes you'll be walking around and you'll walk through the door and it'll show like the end of the demo screen, and you're like, wait a second, this is not a demo. I paid for the full game.
Yeah.
Then you think it shuts off, so you shut off the machine and you lose your save. It is very creepy. It can be maddening. When I was in the Army, I let a buddy of mine borrow my GameCube when it was a Saturday night, and told him, it was a fun game and he should check it out. And he came back to my room early Sunday morning, and I was like, so what'd you think of it? What'd you play? And he goes, yeah, I played that Eternal Darkness game last night. We had a thunderstorm that night. And he goes, yeah, I was sitting alone in the room, and I had the headphones on, and I just had to shut it off and crawl under my blankets. And won't touch it again. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Oh, sheesh.
It is not a jump fright game. This game is twisted. Did someone slip me LSD type game?
Yeah, it's
and
trippy.
It really messes with your mind, but it is great. I wish they would bring it back, but the studio that made it is no longer around. However, the guy that directed it, and to tie it back to what you said earlier, also was the director of at least one, if not all, of the Legacy of Kain games.
Correct.
Just announced he has a new game coming out, and it looks awesome. They just announced today. It's going to be on PC, and I think he said the Switch, the Xbox, and the PlayStation. Let me pull up the name real quick because I saw it. I was like, ooh.
I'm really hoping he remasters the Legacy of Kain games, because I got to tell you, getting them to run on PC is a nightmare.
Is it?
It was part of that crappy trial of Windows trying to get into gaming before the Xbox, so games for Windows. Okay. And it's murder trying to get those to run on any new system. Some people have no problem; they run perfectly. Other people like me who have Alienware or anything that's really, really powerful, it's almost impossible. I think I've gotten it to launch maybe 3 times out of the 200 times I've launched it in the last 2 days.
Right on. The game is called Dead House Sonata. I'm going to type it into the message. They just announced it today. If you haven't seen the trailer, go ahead and watch it. It looks awesome.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, Darren. Jeez. Darren's like, not a problem for me, man. I got it. Yeah, I know you did. And yeah, Darren, dude, if you haven't heard of Eternal Darkness, there was one scene in that game that made me just absolutely lose it. And that's when the game said, your GameCube has become corrupted. Please remove all memory cards. And it literally, it acted like it bricked your GameCube system. Lost it. I was freaked the freak out, man. It was.
Yeah, stuff like that. And just if you were playing with headphones on and surround sound, the voices.
Oh, that
kind of groundbreaking. It was kind of groundbreaking in that respect, because it was, I want to say 2002 it came out, 2001, 2002.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure it was 2002. But anyway, so what do we got next? Realms of the Haunting. Have you played this one?
I have not.
I have
really
it on
a PC gamer, so.
Realms of the Haunting was an interesting game. It kind of brought in the age of Call of Cthulhu, LA Noire, those kind of games. Where there was a little bit of fighting and a little bit of combat, but it wasn't enough to really take away from the more adventure and search aspect of the game and the mystery in the game. And in this one, you play, I think it's the grandson of a famous collector. Okay. And when you enter the mansion, these spirits have pretty much taken over. And it's just this really psychological ghost trip into your own head. And it starts taking you into places that you didn't even know existed. I mean, there's dead bodies everywhere. It's very hard to control on newer systems. Like I said, back in the day, this game came out in 98, I think. 97, 98 on PC, right when gaming was kind of starting on the PCs. But if you get a second and you take the time to set it up, it's a very solid game. I don't want to because I literally can't talk more about the story because it will give a ton away. There's just so much going on in this game story wise that I don't want to ruin it for everybody that wants to check it out. The graphics are pretty dated. It's got the live action movies, the LAVs, and the crappy acting, and
yeah, that famous one from was it the Sega Saturn just got re-released on Switch.
Which one, Slaughterhouse or something like that?
No, the one where it's like a bunch of teenage girls. Oh, I forget the name.
Oh shoot! Nocturnal something or other. I know what you're talking about. Where you control the camera in the house.
I think so. Yeah, that just got.
And you have to stop the girls or something like that, or stop the killers in the house with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that just got released on the Switch, or is going to be soon. Something. Anyways, next up on our list is Castlevania. This is the original one on the NES. Now we could talk about the whole franchise, but the original one was really one of the first horror games out there, and that's why we decided to put it on here. It may not be the best one, but it really established the genre as viable and gave us what we have today in some regards.
Absolutely.
The gameplay on these old 8-bit games is not the greatest. The graphics aren't great. I do like the 8-bit what do they call those? Not the chip tunes, the MIDI file music.
Yeah, the MIDIs, yeah.
Yep,
MIDIs.
Yep. The music was great. And I'm sure a lot of you know about Castlevania. It's you play Simon Belmont and you're trying to hunt Dracula. The story. It was really, it took that platforming from the goofy, cartoony kind of Mario games, something much darker and more sinister, and added more options where you could throw weapons. You could toss the potions down. You had your chain whip, your flail. It was a lot of fun. What do you think about Castlevania?
I mean, I got to tell you, Castlevania is bar none the top in my list, like one of the top in my list. I have every single Castlevania game, save for maybe two off the DS, or not the DS, the SP, which I just ordered on Amazon anyway. Mm-hmm. I have almost every Castlevania game made, other than the Wii one, which was Judgment, which was garbage. And in fact, one of my favorites is the first Castlevania, obviously. But one most people hate is Curse of Darkness. And that was on the PlayStation 2, and you actually played Alucard, who was the son of Dracula. Mm-hmm. And he comes back to the castle, and you actually you get devils that you can control, and each weapon class had a different playstyle, which is really cool. And I actually ended up having to buy the full guide, which was about this thick when you bought it, because each devil had a tree that you could evolve them kind of Pokemon style, depending on what kind of crystals you got from fighting with different types of weapons. And some of them were really hard to unlock. I didn't know how to do half of them, so it was really good. And then, of course, the newest ones, which were the Castlevania Lord of Shadows series. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal. If you haven't played them, especially the first one, the story was wow, mind-blowing to say the least. So anyway, what's next? You go for it.
And real quick, while we're on the topic of Castlevania, second season of the Netflix show starts Friday.
Oh, does it? Oh, sweet.
Yes. And for those of you that have a PlayStation 4, Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night are being remastered and will be available on Friday as well. So, and if you pay for them now, I think it's the best I've ever done it. You get yourself. So
must be nice to have a PS4.
Yeah. Next up, we have Alone in the Dark. Now, this was a series of games, and I think it had a movie with Christian Slater too.
A terrible movie, yeah.
Yeah, and they did a game adaptation of that movie, did they not?
Oh, they did. They did.
And the game was even worse than the movie?
Yeah, it really was, because originally Alone in the Dark was a simple DOS game that was made in that old school, I just got done with my first 3D animation class style.
Yeah.
I mean, just polygonal, just, oh my God, it was horrible. But the gameplay was very unique. and it took inspiration, or rather gave inspiration to the Resident Evil series when it first came out, with those fixed, jagged camera angles. And there were only certain things you could, only so many moves you could do before the enemy started breaking into the house. You had to block the doors, you had to move the chests, you had to bar the windows to give yourself more time. And if you lasted until morning, then you beat the game. So it was interesting, and it inspired a lot of different games like Resident Evil, Nightmare Creatures. In fact, Nightmare Creatures was done by two of the same game designers that made the original Alone in the Dark, if I remember correctly. And it was one of those game series that really came out of left field. Nobody had ever tried something like that at the time, and I loved it because it was scary. It gave you a sense of urgency. And it made you master the controls. It made you have to know where some of those triggers were, and it was the first game you could actually plan for instead of it being random, which was really interesting. So, yeah, that's how that goes.
Yeah. And the one that was on the Xbox, the last one they made, that started on Xbox. I think it was one of the launch titles, or soon thereafter, wasn't it? On the original Xbox 360.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that, like, in around 2008, 2009, you could find at GameStop for under $5, and they were just everywhere.
They were horror. It wasn't a bad game, but it took everything that the original game stand for and just spit on it. It was just that kind of game, and I think that's what turned everybody off to it. Do you know about Sanitarium, our next one?
I do not.
Do you want me to?
Yes, please.
Oh, man, let me tell you. This game came out on a demo disc in 97, I think it was, in PC Gamer magazine. I played the snot out of the demo for this game before it came out. And you control at a 60-degree angle, kind of like Diablo 1 style camera angle. You control a man who is bandaged all the way up to the face in a sanitarium. And the very first level is you breaking out of the sanitarium. And I mean, this is a pretty visceral game when you look at it. You can zoom in and see some of the detail every once in a while. I mean, as you wake up in the very first scene of the game, right next to you is your cellmate bashing his head against the wall, and you can hear it gushing, and you can see the blood splatter on the wall. I mean, you just as you walk out of your cell, you see a man standing on the rails saying, "I'm God, I'm God," and he falls off the rails and kills himself into the pit below. It is a visceral, disgusting game, but the whole point of the game is to collect items and use them in ways you wouldn't imagine. And find your way to the truth as to why you were put in the sanitarium, who you are, where you're going, and what's going on as to why you can't remember anything. And it takes a supernatural turn later in the game. There's a lot of religious symbolism, so if you don't like that, I wouldn't suggest checking that out. But the story, without giving too much away, will leave you at the end of that game with your jaw on the floor. It's an amazing game. If you see it on sale, I know. In fact, Twitch Prime just had it for collection. I think it might still be on the list of games you can collect.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, there's a lot of games people don't know about, but if you have Twitch Prime, keep your eye on the Twitch app, because you can get tons of free games over the month doing that.
Yes. Yep. Or add-ons for stuff. And by the way, if you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime.
Yes, sir.
Little known fact. All right, that does it for the next section of our top 30 horror games. We'll finish that up next week.
Yep, we're getting pretty close. That was number 24 right there.
Yeah, on Halloween. Finishing up next Halloween. All right. Video game news, upcoming games. As we mentioned, the Dead House Sonata is coming out. They haven't really given a date yet. Yes, Darren, the Castlevania show, if you haven't seen it, it's really good. I recommend watching it. The Richard Armitage does the voice of Simon Belmont. Richard Armitage played Thorin Oakenshield in the Hobbit movies.
Yes.
Anyways, back to the upcoming games. There's a new Call of Cthulhu coming out. And
I am looking forward to that. I am looking forward to this game.
I'm trying to get a review code for it, but too late to list. So, Spider DLC hit yesterday, The Heist, featuring Black. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. It's like I said, I got too many pots on the stove already.
No kidding.
Dark Souls Trilogy is, I think that comes out Friday on the PlayStation, PC, and Xbox, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And the original first Dark Souls is now on Nintendo Switch. I've heard a lot of people complain about it, but I think that's people that are predominantly Nintendo players and have never played a Dark Souls and didn't quite understand what they were getting themselves into.
It's too hard.
Did I ever
That's what
tell
your
you
mother said.
My run through with Dark Souls 2?
Yeah, oh my god. Go ahead. Oh my god.
So, for those of you that haven't played Dark Souls 2, when you get to the bonfire, the first one's the only one, you wander around this little area, and I picked up this token. I think it was like the Covenant of Champions or something like that. I didn't know what it did. Well, after I had about 35, 40 hours into the game, I looked up what it did, and it basically puts it in new plus mode. So right off the bat, never played the game, but I was in that. So after dying way too much, I was like, all right, you know what, I've had enough. If I had already gone through the game and knew where I was going to do, it'd be a different story. But I made it to some giant blob boss in a noxious pit, and he had like a saw blade around his stomach. That's as far as I got. So, what else we got? DC Supervillains just came out. That's on Xbox, PC. I think it's on PC, PlayStation, and Switch. It's just like any of the. It's a Lego game, just like any of the other games, and you play the supervillains, teaming up to keep Darkseid from taking over the galaxy.
Freaking Darkseid.
Yeah. Luigi's Mansion, the launch title for the Nintendo GameCube, is now available on the 3DS.
I hope they kept the hanging Luigi Easter egg. That'd be kind of cool.
I think Nintendo announced one coming for the Switch at some point in time, which is not a surprise.
That'd be cool. I like that.
Yeah, especially with they could do some really cool features with the Switch where you in handheld, just like they do on the 3DS, where you can you do like an alternate reality where you move it around and you see different things. So that could be cool. And a couple weeks ago, there's a little known DS hit that got a lot of great reviews, got remixed and put on the Switch, and that's The World Ends With You.
Oh, I remember this.
It's based on music, I think. You use music to coordinate your attacks. The game looks really cool. Again, it's only available on the Switch, but if you don't have a Switch, you can get it fun. All right. So, upcoming Alpha Nerd Guild events. We've got John's stream every night, or just about every night. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 Central, I believe, is when it starts. We've got new shirts for those of you that haven't seen them. Check out the group page. They're highlighter yellow with an old school Atari controller on them.
Very nice, very nice.
Yep. And what else we got? The PUBG tournament. The deadline for sign up is tonight at midnight. $10.
$10.
So if you're into PUBG and you want to sign for the tournament, there's some details on the group page. It's the announcement. Check it out. Sign up. You've got just under 4 more hours to do so.
So get out there and get in, you jerks.
Yeah. And as Mike mentioned earlier, our streamer of the month for NG is Craig. You can find him at Spartan Armory, all one word. I think that's it for tonight, Mike. You got anything else you want to cover?
You know what, man? Other than I think I'll make a quick mention because we can talk about it next week when it hits. But for those that don't know, Warframe has Fortuna coming out this month of November, as well as Darksiders 3. Yeah, on PC, not the console yet. But Darksiders 3 is also hitting in the mid-month, and I am really looking forward to that. So we'll talk about that more next time, though. I'm good, man. How about you?
All right. I just thought of something. Really back to the microtransactions, physical content. Do you remember the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games?
I do. I have the first one still.
They're a lot of fun. Could you imagine if they made a new one where you unlock, say, the symbiote suit, buy the symbiote suit statue, and it give you another story map?
Don't give them any ideas.
You would sell. You'd buy them. I'd buy them.
Don't give them any more ideas.
Anyways, everyone have a good night. Live long and prosper.
Take it easy. Did he fall asleep?
We bore you.
I'm sorry, Mac. Oh, we didn't even talk about Mac, dude. We forgot to talk about our new dude.
Mac, you still there?
Maybe he did fall asleep. That means you're still on the air. Oh my god. Yeah, we're still on, man. I just hit the volume on it. So, you know what, dude? If Mac's not back just yet, what games are you looking forward to coming out now? I mean, other than Call of Cthulhu and stuff like that. I mean, I'm really looking forward to Fortuna for Warframe. You get to customize your own pistol. You get your own MOA that you can customize now. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. Let's see. I'm looking forward to Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. I've never played either of them, so I'm gonna play those.
They're good. They're very good.
The Spider-Man DLC. I'm looking forward to playing that. I've heard it. It's a few hours, so maybe this weekend I can plow through that. I'm still on the fence about the Fallout 76.
I'm not liking it, man. I'm watching it on a couple of streams, and I don't know.
I'm liking the idea. Why I say I'm on the fence is I don't know if I have the time to commit.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because I know a lot of people that are going to get it, and it'd be cool to play with them. And Smash Brothers. That's for this calendar year. That's what I got interested. That interests me. And then next year you got Left Alive, which if you haven't checked out Left Alive by Square Enix, check it out. Put it on your list right now. It looks awesome. It's not Hideo Kojima, the director from the Armored Core series and the model designer for the Metal Gear series teamed up with Square Enix, and they're making a mech-based game. And then Resident Evil 2 remake. What about you? Besides Fortuna and Darksiders,
I'm definitely looking forward to that new mech combat one. Resident Evil 2 remake is the one I'm just frothing at the mouth for. My best friend and I, that was like one of the first games me and him ever like bonded over really heavy. So that to me is going to be a huge nostalgia trip. I told him, I'm like, dude, I'm buying the beer. We're going to sit down and we're going to run that thing as much as possible.
Nice.
So, Mac, where you at, man? Mackie! Home slice. Go Blackadder on him. Hello, Doug. Darling, go and get some propane up in this boy. You know what? I bet he's waiting for 5:30 to roll around. He's like, "Oh, it's gonna be over for 5:30." He's probably like, in the bathroom.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. We're just gonna end the call.
So, all right, man. Let's do it. Take it easy, guys.